It's the Ranting Cast. Frank Curry. I'm back. A couple, week or maybe 2 weeks off and taking care of some stuff, but I am back. I'm joined by Dan Fates. He is of 13 Wham in Rochester. Dan, how you doing today?
Doing great, Frank. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So, as we get into everything right away, Stanley Cup Game 1's going on right now. Colorado just scored. It's 1-0. 1-0 as Gabriel Landeskog. Um, I'm so excited for this series. I'm so excited to see what's going to happen. I'm really thinking this might be one of the best Cup finals ever, just based on the talent of the two teams. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it's exciting the fact of this feels like the Colorado team that where they've seen themselves for the last 2 years, right? Like they've always just kind of been the one that have stubbed their toe somewhere in the finals after dominating the season. But and I think a lot of, for casual hockey fans, this should be eye-opening to see the talent that's out there in Colorado, because I think that gets lost. I think sometimes it's 10 o'clock starts for some people here out east, and whether it's Cale Makar and just that whole, Nate McKinnon, like it's just fun hockey there that the Avs play. And on the other side, you have the Bolts that, Frank, they just seem to have alligator blood. Like they just don't die, and there are like when is they get stronger as series goes on. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Avs go up 1-0, 2-0 in the series, and I still wouldn't count the Lightning out.
No, I mean, especially with how the Rangers series went. I mean,
yeah,
Tampa lost 2 straight games in the playoffs for the first time since they got swept, and it didn't matter. Like that's unbelievable. A lot of people probably thought this is it, Tampa's done, or maybe the Rangers can do it, and nope. No. I even was saying it too. Like Tampa outplayed them for most of those games. Rangers just got a couple shots through, and they ended up winning 2 in a row out of it. But then Tampa clamped it down. They didn't give up what they were giving up in games 1 and 2, and they just kept playing their game. And now Colorado's up 2-0. Oh, look at that!
Unbelievable.
Yeah, but Tampa clamps it down. They figure out their opponent and they win. Like that's why I'm kind of not surprised they're up. Colorado's up 2-0 right now. For Tampa, they usually spend the first 2 games trying to feel out their opponent and just kind of see, okay, what are we going up against? And with Colorado, they're a run and gun team. They're the fastest team in the league, in my opinion. And when you have Nate McKinnon and Cale Makar and Gabriel Landeskog and Mikko Rantanen, and maybe they get Kadri back as well.
Right.
Who knows? It's always hard to stop them, but if there's a team that can do it, I think Tampa's the one.
It's just like you said, it's a lot of feeling out. It's a lot of, they're just such an experienced, well-coached, thoughtful grind team. They never get too high. They never get too low. And that's, again, there will be overreaction no matter what happens tonight. And I don't think the Lightning will care. Yeah. I don't think Tampa is going to care at all one way or another.
No. I mean, as of right now, Colorado looks like they're the team that hasn't been. They don't look like they took almost a 2-week break, really.
Right. Yeah.
But that's sometimes that happens, and I don't know. This is interesting. I love it. I love playoff hockey. We all do. So you obviously being a Bills guy for Wham in Rochester. What have you noticed so far from the Bills recently?
The big thing that stands out is a guy that I never expected to even be talking about at all. And I feel like the last 2 days of minicamp, I've just been amazed at Tavon Austin, a guy that's a journeyman guy that was an 8th overall pick out of West Virginia. He had unreal highlight reel tapes in college, and then has just been a total dud in the NFL with injuries. He's been really explosive. And when they signed him, you got Gabe Davis, and you have Isaiah McKenzie stepping up, and Stephon Diggs, and all these other pieces. They signed James Crowder, all these things. I'm like, why are they wasting a signing on Tavon Austin? He's looked really good. In the 2-day minicamp. And I said, but we're not going to overreact to, middle of June, but he's looked really sharp. And also just the difference of another year where it's really fun to have Josh Allen as a quarterback. And
Boy,
to
is it.
cover a team like that, where I go, there'd be times where we're sitting at minicamp. I've been covering the team for, this will be my sixth season, sixth or seventh season. I was there for Rex's last year, was the first year I started covering the team. And just back then we were impressed when a quarterback at training camp like completed a pass of 20 yards. And we were like, wow, really good throw. And now the ball just never touches the ground. And yeah, I know people that have covered the Patriots when Brady was there, and they said that's what practice was like, and that's what practice feels like now. So
Mhm.
it's funny how we don't even talk about Josh Allen or a good practice that he's had, because it's just expected now, and that's a lot of fun. I'll tell you that, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, it's so much so that I think for a lot of, a lot of Bills fans, maybe not like the real hardcore ones, but ones who are still very passionate, but also ones who still enjoy other things too. That's not just the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like for someone like me, I mean, I feel like I don't have to really pay attention as much to camp as a lot of people do, just because I know this team's good regardless. And I know that even if they're going to bring in a guy like Tavon Austin, who cares? Like, if he
Yep.
works out, great. If he doesn't, so what? It's no big deal. You just
Yep.
bring in a guy and see what happens. And this team is so good that like they have the luxury to do that. Obviously, I think for me, like these mini camps are usually my first taste at seeing rookies, see what
Yep.
they can do with their teammates in more pro styles. Um, like they don't have a rookie quarterback to evaluate, or we don't have a rookie quarterback to look at. So,
Yeah. It
what's really there to worry about?
Yeah, like we are trying to go back and forth. I'm talking to the other guys today, and I'm sitting there. I go, there's not a competition at any starting spot.
Yep.
There isn't, and that's insane to say that. We're sitting here on June 15th, going, hey, who's this person? Sorry, you. I wouldn't say that everybody's written in ink, but most of them are. Whether Trey White is where his health is,
Mm-hmm.
will still be determined, but they've liked what Kaiir Elam has done,
Yep.
and what he has shown so far. I guess the only real thing, not that even the Bills would care, and that we'll try and get answers out of it as we get to training camp, but who is the running back that gets starts? I think that the four-headed monster, if I throw in Duke Johnson, I think it could just be a revolving door. I've never been one that's been sold on Devin Singletary.
Mm-hmm.
And while people want to tell me like he's good, the Bills have tried to replace him every single offseason that Devin Singletary has been in Buffalo. And that should tell you what they think about him, because they drafted Zach Moss. The sources that I know, that they really loved Travis Etienne back in last year, and he got taken before he was on the clock. They liked the running back this year, and it didn't fall to him, but they tried to get the Jarrett McKinnon. Like, they've tried to do everything they can to get a better back than Devin Singletary. So it'd be interesting to see where those guys fall. That's the real shuffle. Besides that, I don't really have any concerns about this team, which is staggering.
It's insane to think. And I remember all the rumors about the Bills being in on. I think it was Brees Hall.
Brees Hall, thank you. I couldn't. Yep.
Yeah, I remember that. But then they take James Cook in the second round still, and you think that seems like a better fit anyway.
I think he's a better fit in the passing game. I'm not exactly sure where he fits in to this running style, but this could be a whole new running style. They brought in Aaron Cromer, it's his second stint here in Buffalo. He is much more zone blocking schemes. And I'm not even a guy that's going to try and break down all 22 and tell you the best ways to run the football, because I think the Bills tried everything last year and it just didn't work. But if there is hope for the running game, to me, it doesn't lie within James Cook or Zach Moss or Devin Singletary. It relies on what Aaron Cromer can get this offensive line to do.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I mean, taking James Cook being way a better fit for the passing game kind of just tells me maybe they still see something in Singletary. I don't know. Where maybe they're more comfortable with him and Moss being more the run guys. Maybe Duke Johnson gets in there too, and then Cook can be in there at certain points, but he's there as maybe like a decoy in the passing game. Kind of similar to how they were using McKenzie recently, and obviously they drafted another receiver in day 3 as well.
Yeah, Khalil Shakir.
Yeah, Khalil Shakir. Yeah, and then they drafted Stevenson last year too. So I think they're just trying to give themselves a bunch of different players just to have different looks at, and just see and end up seeing what happens.
And I love that approach, Frank, because that's
Mhm.
one of the things when people were saying, well, the Bills need to draft a defensive, they need to draft a defensive a cornerback, and I said I still was on team wide receiver. I still think
I
that
was too.
like Frank, the way I looked at it is you've invested $250 million into Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be irresponsible to be like, well, Josh, you fix all of the problems on offense. Like you solve all of our issues, when it's like, no, now you give him every tool that he needs to succeed. And whether that's bringing in wide receivers, drafting running backs, it's like, you need to keep the talent level high around Josh Allen so that he can succeed. And because I look at what has been done, and whether it was New Orleans or whether it was Green Bay, it just seems like
that's the big one.
Green Bay just keeps going, well, we don't have to draft any offensive players because we have Aaron Rodgers, and he'll just make up for everything. And I just think that's a dumb way. Good. Yeah, and I just think that's a dumb way to go about it. So that's where I'm like, hey, keep bringing in guys that will make Josh better, and that Josh will also make better.
Yeah, I was on team wide receiver too. I was thinking if a guy like Jameson Williams starts to fall, you go up and get him. You do everything you can. He was the guy I was thinking. But Detroit goes up and gets him anyway, and I'm just like, you know what? Good for you, Detroit. For real. Now, actually, I'm just looking at the game one, and now it's 2-1. Nick Paul just scored. So
it's gonna be a fun series.
It's such a fun series. Rip to the over. If you took the under tonight, rip you. Sorry. So actually, right before we went on, you said that you actually are a hockey guy yourself. I see the Fredonia stuff in your background.
Yeah. I played high school hockey, won a state title my junior year. And then when I went to Fredonia for journalism, small school, and they had Division III hockey, and I went in there and I said, hey, can I call the hockey games? And they said, you start Friday. So I was the color commentary guy for all 4 years that I was at Fredonia, and loved it. Wow. Like I said, hockey, grew up, big Sabres fan, the 99 and all those years. And so I'm a big Sabres fan, obviously covering more here in Rochester, the Amherst, which again, were fun for the first time in a while.
It was fun this year with Jack Quinn and Paterka and Samuelson, whenever Krebs was there.
Yeah.
And that playoff run was so much fun. I was so happy. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I'm a Buff State guy, and I same thing. I was doing broadcasts as well for them.
Yeah.
They're so much fun to do. It's D3 college. It was
awesome.
Time of my life. I had a great time doing it. So we're going to take a quick break. If you notice down in the bottom, menu item of the day from Dinosaur Barbecue, because the show is obviously sponsored by Dinosaur Barbecue and John and Mary's. If you saw that menu item, if you saw what it was, message it. Tell me what it is. You're going to get put in a raffle for a $50 gift certificate to Dinosaur Barbecue. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Like that.
So you gotta like that. But we gotta take a quick break, so we'll be right back on the Ranting Cast. Dinosaur Barbecue is awesome. You gotta love that place.
Love it.
So if you're just tuning in, I just said it right before the break. Wherever that menu item is at the bottom for Dinosaur Barbecue, let me know. You'll get put into a raffle. So Dan Fates is here. He's from Rochester. Works for 13 Wham. Fredonia guy. I'm a Buff State guy. So there's always a little bit of a thing. But I love Fredonia. I love that place.
Little SUNYAC pride. That's what we got for each other.
You got to have the SUNYAC pride. Got to have the SUNYAC pride and the hate for Oswego.
Exactly.
That's
perfect.
What it is.
At least we can find a common ground with the hate for Oswego.
Exactly. Our hate for Oswego and Plattsburgh and Geneseo. Oh man. I actually have a quick story about that. I didn't broadcast the game, but I was at Buff State's first ever win against Oswego. It was 2014, I want to say 2013. Okay. They beat Oswego. God, I want to say it was like 4-1 or 3-1 that night. And their goalie at the time was Kevin Carr, and he's a pro, and he's pro now. I think he plays in the
Mm-hmm.
ECHL.
Mm-hmm.
He was unreal that night, and he was making saves left and right that just reminded you of just how much Ryan Miller carried the team
Yeah.
back when he was the guy. And that celebration that the team had at when the third period ended was unreal. It was one of the best nights I'd ever seen. One of my favorite nights as a hockey fan for Buff State. And I
Yeah.
know their coach still, Steve Murphy, great guy. He's a great guy. I love him
Yeah.
so much. Utmost respect for him as a coach. So
I
you
remember
gotta
our
all
win.
love that.
Yeah, I'm with you, because I remember our one win when they beat Oswego too, and it was that same energy of like
Yeah.
you were taking on Goliath, like you were. Oswego
Mhm.
was always the number one team in the country, all of that stuff. So I'm with you, Frank. I remember those nights too.
You gotta love it. So an interesting question that I was thinking of, and something that I've been thinking of really since the Sabre season ended. You know, the vibes for Buffalo, which should constantly being talked about, especially on Sabres Twitter, it's been great. You know, with
Great.
all the young pieces like Krebs, like Quinn and Paterka coming up, Samus and Darlene has looked awesome this year. Powers up. Thompson had an unreal year. Skinner had an unreal bounce back year. Tuck what he's done since coming here. I think a guy like Dylan Cousins is due for a breakout as well. Maybe even Middlestat, maybe too, if he's here.
Mm-hmm.
The vibes for the Sabres has never really been this high for such a long time that I wonder if I don't recall if it felt the same way with the Bills after Allen's rookie year, where it's like, you know what? I think they got something here, and I'm kind of feeling good.
Yeah.
Similar in that way, because after Allen's rookie year, they finished, I think, what was it? What, 6-10?
6-10? Yeah, I think it was 6-10. The only bright side was that Allen finished week 17 with player of the week. I think he beat up the Dolphins.
Because they beat up Miami, and
he owns them. Yeah.
Yeah, and he does. But it was like, how do I put it?
There was still a lot of questions and uncertainty with that team.
But
that
there was
team
promise.
Correct. There was promise with Allen, but they needed to overhaul the wide receivers. They needed to improve things around Allen. But you thought you had a piece. You thought
you had the biggest piece.
Right, exactly. And so you thought you could build around it. So I'm with you there. This Sabres team, I obviously covering closely the Amerks playoff run, and I just said, like, the vibes from Buffalo, while they are always quick to say when I'm talking to the Amerks that they're different teams, they're different locker rooms, they're different things, right?
Of course.
It trickles. When things were bad and really bad in Buffalo over the last 2 or 3 years, players were relieved to come down to Rochester. That was the vibe when the locker room was that bad. Now when guys get called up, it's exciting. They come back refreshed. And while, like I said, while they start to get on winning streaks and things like that, like the Amerks are watching all of that out of the corner of their eye, going like, hey, like, we're not a dumpster fire. Like, the organization's heading in the right direction. It just seems like there's a plan. There's pieces in place. So I'm with you where there is an excitement level. I think Jack Quinn, the sky is the limit for him. I just have really, I've sat down with him a couple of times. Really good guy who's already overcome quite a bit of, just bad luck with injuries and mono.
Mono earlier this year.
And just kind of weird, fluky things. And then he goes on this run during the playoffs where he doesn't score a goal. And he was the AHL Rookie of the Year and doesn't score. And everything was, what's wrong with Jack? What's wrong with Jack? Why can't Jack score? What's going on? And Seth Appert was the first one to say, like, yeah, he's not scoring, but he's helping win games. And then I started to watch him more in the games. And the AHL is, especially people in Buffalo, maybe not see, a lot of Amerks games. It's an uglier style of game in the American Hockey League. It's a little sloppier. It's a little grittier. And I always remember talking to Chris Taylor, the former Amerks head coach, former Sabre and Amerks, like, players that come down that are pro level players that come down to the American Hockey League sometimes struggle because their teammates aren't where they should be. Like, it's not clean. Like
Mhm.
Casey Middlestat struggled mightily for the
Yes.
Amherst. And I just remember being like, yeah, because he's expecting his teammates to be there and they're not, because his mind works at an NHL caliber level.
Yeah.
So to see some of these guys like Jack Quinn, who doesn't score but was throwing his body around, was blocking shots, was doing all the little things, was encouraging. And Appert said, like, you're going to go through these streaks as a great hockey player that you don't score. But how do you still improve and help your team win games? And I thought that's what Quinn did. And to me, that was a big, big sign that he gets the big picture is more than just putting the puck in the back of the net. There's other things you have to do that goes along with it.
I think you mentioned it. It's doing the little things. It's just doing those things where, yeah, you're not going to see it on the score sheet. And I think for a lot of people too, you're not going to see it on the analytics sheet as well.
Yep.
But you're putting yourself in positions to succeed, even if it's not
Or your
scoring a
teammates to
goal or
succeed.
getting
Yep.
it. Yeah. And yeah, thinking the game is a big part of it as well. I mean, yeah. I remember when Tage Thompson was there too, he looked good
Yep.
at points. And then he comes up here, and the one game he plays before he blows his shoulder out, he actually looked good in that game too. I think it was against Chicago, I want to say.
Yeah, I think so
This
too.
was pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
And now look at Tage. A couple years later, he's almost a 40-goal scorer, and a lot of that was the move to center ice, but it's just that continuation of doing the little things right. And you got to, and as a young, and I think you're absolutely right. As a young player, that's what you got to focus on, especially when you're in the minors. To just do those things. You have the natural talent already. You already do. Now, just got to work on a little other things, just here and there, just cleaning it up, really. And once you get to the NHL, everything clicks, especially when you're that star-studded player, especially, and a guy who can be that in Jack Quinn and Peterka too.
Yeah, and Frank, I remember my first day covering when I got to 13 Wham was one of my first stories was to go up to Sabres development camp, and one of the first was in 20, I want to say it was 2018, and the main story of that development camp was that Tage Thompson was a bust. That Ryan O'Reilly had just won the cup. Tage Thompson was supposed to be there. He was coming off a horrendous season with the Sabres, was fighting for a roster spot. And like, what is wrong with Tage Thompson? And I caught up with him again this year. I caught up with him just before the end of the season. And it was just such a cool dynamic to see him. I thought Tage Thompson was 29 years old. Like, that is how long I feel like the roller coaster career that he has had in Buffalo, the highs and lows that he has had. And he always said, he thought he was this good. And it just took some time, and that's okay. And I remember Donnie Granato talking about it, that like some of these guys like Matthews and McKinnon, like it just clicks for them right away. Some guys it takes a bit longer. I think Tage Thompson's legit. You see his physical talent. It's off the charts with his size and speed. And part of it's confidence. Part of it's just for him, he said it was clarity on knowing where he was going to be. It was Chicago, and then he was in the minors, and then it was St. Louis, and then it was Rochester, and then it was Buffalo, and all of these things. He just didn't have it just wasn't clear for him. And once Donnie was there and kind of got to talk to him, he said that because Donnie had worked with him for the developmental team.
Yeah.
And he goes, we had a lot of talks the previous summer, meaning the summer coming into the season. And he goes, hey, look, I know you're going to be great, but it's got to be now. Like it was one of those conversations he has where it's like, hey, we can talk about the future all we want. It's got to happen. Like, we can't just keep saying it's going to happen. Like, you got to do it. And he goes, that was kind of the kick in the pants. Like, oh yeah, let's do this now. And he had a great season, and I couldn't be happier for him.
Oh, absolutely. I remember one story. Who said it? It was Chad DiDomenicis from Expected Buffalo. He mentioned how Thompson, when he was like in high school, he was not, the height he was. He was like around like 6 foot, and he had just massive growth spurt that happened like almost like a couple years before he was drafted, and it just took him a while to adjust to his body really as too. And that's something I don't think a lot of people talk about as well, because he's always had we know he's always had the natural talent, but then he has to do it as a 6'6" player and not a 6 foot player. It's just two completely different dynamics in hockey, really.
I feel like we also think so much that like professional athletes are robots, Frank,
Yeah.
and that like nothing can bother them. And to talk to Tage, and I said, like, I remember I sat down with him and I said, like, I was there when you were called a bust. And he's like, I remember it. I was like, was that like hard? And he's like, wasn't great, but like you just kind of have to get through those things, and it's highs and lows. So it was, his wife had gone through a cancer scare last, 2 years ago, and just a lot of things off the ice that just weren't set for him. And now he kind of feels at peace off the ice, and its results are showing up on the ice. So I always feel like the more I've gotten to be around players and be in locker rooms, and you start to think like these players are just robots that are supposed to go out there and do the right thing. It's like, oh, they also have lives and like outside and family, and things can affect their play on the ice because they're humans.
Yeah, I think we as fans, a lot of fans like to forget just how human these guys are, because they're no different than you and me. They just do something that
they have incredible
for our
talent.
Entertainment,
Yep.
It's that way in all sports. So I think we're just about to wrap it up here. If you've noticed in the bottom line, obviously I've said it a couple times, Dinosaur Barbecue, Ron's giving away $50 gift certificate to Dinosaur Barbecue. You just got to message me the menu item of the day that has been on the bottom line for today's show. Maybe you'll see it one more time before the show ends. Probably not, because I hope you watched it. But Stanley Cup's going on right now. Game 1. It is now 3-1 Colorado. Ranting scored on the power play. Maybe Lehkonen tipped it in. But Dan, who do you have winning the series?
I'll take the Avs. I think the Lightning may just be running out of gas. It's just a grueling stretch that they have won back-to-back. I think that the Avs are fresher. This is a young team that has wanted this for the last 3 years, like I was saying in the beginning. I just think talent here, while as much as I don't think it'll be an easy series, and I think the Lightning will throw their punches in every game. I just really like the speed, like you said, and I just think they're clicking right now. I like the Avs.
I am just tweeting it out now because I forgot to do it earlier today. I'm going Tampa. I'm not betting against the champs until they actually lose.
Right.
They might lose the series. You easily be right on everything, but
they got alligator blood. I told you that earlier.
They have the alligator blood. I looked at it. Yeah, I look at it, and they have the best goalie in the series of Vasilevsky, whether it's Kemper or Francois.
Agreed.
That right there gives them a massive advantage. Do they have the best defenseman in the series?
No.
So Hedman or Makar, really?
Right. I'll take
defensively. I probably take Hedman. But when you look at what Makar brings offensively as well, that throws a whole another wrench into it, because Tampa's defense doesn't really score a lot of goals, score a lot of points. Meanwhile, Colorado's defense is almost the opposite because of what Makar is doing. And then you have the dynamics of McKinnon and Ranson and Landeskog versus Kucherov, Stamkos, Palat, now bringing points back, and Tampa's new shutdown line, their new third line, really, after Gord, Goodrow, Coleman. Now it's Hagel, Killorn, and Cirelli, and people are finally seeing how good Anthony Cirelli is. Oh my God, I've been saying this for like 3 years, how good this guy is. So
I think Kadri could be the wild card with the Frank.
If he plays, he may very well be the wild card.
We'll see.
I have Tampa in 6. That's my prediction. Right. That's what I'm going with. I'm sticking to it.
I'll take Avs in 6. And
I wish you the best. I like it. Yeah, I really think it could go either way. I just
want at least 6 games. I want 6 games of this series.
The one thing that will disappoint me is if every game, no matter how long the series goes, is a blowout. I think this series is going to be close all the time.
I agree.
I don't want to see a series go 4 or 5 games, but at the same time, just if they go 4 or 5 games, but every game is back and forth really close, I can live with that. Like look at the Edmonton Calgary series. Every game was close, really, but it went 5 games. But every game was really good. I don't mind that.
I'm with you.
Well, I've been putting it on the bottom line, Dan. Plug in your Twitter, but what other places can we find you at?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Buffalo Plus's YouTube channel. It's like our big YouTube channel for all of our Bills content, stories, podcasts, blogs, updates, instant reaction. I post sights and sounds from training camp, everything that you need. Got about 14,000 subscribers. We've been doing it for about just over a year. So So appreciate to like, comment, and subscribe there. And I appreciate the opportunity coming on, Frank. Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, no problem. This was fun, and man, it's hot. It's hot here as well. I'm dying in this room, so I gotta get out. I gotta get out of here. All right, but everybody have a great night. Dan, you have a great night. Let's enjoy the rest of game one. First period's over. Let's enjoy the last two periods. Let's enjoy the whole series. Let's enjoy the NBA Finals too. Game 6 is about to come up. Golden State up 3-2 in that series. Maybe they return to prominence. Who knows? We'll see. Maybe Boston comes back. Who knows? I don't like Boston, but whatever.
I'm with you.
Okay. Dan, you have a great night. Everybody have a great night. Don't forget to message me the menu item of the day for Dinosaur Barbecue. You'll be put in a raffle. Ron will pick someone out randomly for a $50 gift certificate to Dinosaur Barbecue. Dan, you have a great night.
Appreciate it.